He was such a happy-go-lucky kid, you know. He loved joking around, teasing his family, and he loved, like, his brothers were his everything, you know.
Kathleen Bremner treasures her memories of her son Jordan Thomas. The 18-year-old was a star athlete at his high school, where he was set to graduate in 2018. That changed one early winter morning in 2017, when Thomas was fatally stabbed in Winnipeg's North End.
One of the toughest things to deal with was it was so close to home. I mean, he died just a block and a half away from home, on his way home.
Thomas is one of the 119 homicide cases to have occurred in the city from 2014 to 2018. An APTN investigation has determined Indigenous people are dying at higher rates than non-Indigenous people in Winnipeg. They make up roughly 47% of the cases, but account for only 12% of the total population. The majority of the homicides of Indigenous people are taking place right here in downtown or the North End. Frank Cormier is the head of the Sociology and Criminology Department at the University of Manitoba. He says in most larger cities like Winnipeg, it's not uncommon for homicides to occur in the core areas, largely in part due to social mobility.
Where maybe the people who live in the area don't live there for as long, so there might be more people coming and going, so there might be less cohesion in a neighborhood like that.
Indigenous men and boys account for 30% of the city's homicides, while Indigenous women and girls represent 17%. For both groups, the majority of victims are in their 20s. Bremner isn't surprised by this.
Living in this area, I mean, it's dangerous. I mean, I have 3 boys, or had 3 boys. Trying to get them to walk around here safely is just it's almost impossible. I mean, you're constantly running into kids walking around with some kind of weapon or trying to start some kind of fight, especially if you're a young man.
Bremner's son was with his older brother when the two were stabbed during a botched robbery. The oldest survived. A majority of Indigenous homicides are related to stabbings and assaults. Cormier says this is due to the context of the situation.
Most homicides are what I would call sort of very disorganized homicides, spur of the moment. These are not planned in advance.
Cormier is quick to note colonization has led to a situation where Indigenous people are more vulnerable and basic needs aren't being met.
So if people have supportive family and friends, they have a circle of support, if their economic needs are met, if they have sufficient food and housing, if people have access to education and employment so they can support themselves. These are the things that too many people are missing.
Angie Hutchinson is a violence prevention worker at Mama Wichita Center in the North End. She says change can only happen when Indigenous people lead the charge.
Definitely look at centering Indigenous knowledges and Indigenous ways of being within all aspects of programming, and that includes Indigenous-led and design programming.
Part of her work focuses on empowering youth.
How do we really look at supporting young individuals to find themselves and to find their place within kind of their community and foster their strengths and their gifts and really provide them with the best opportunity to thrive within our communities.
Hutchinson says this starts with building healthy relationships within the community. This year there have been 26 homicides, outnumbering the 22 from last year. Indigenous people make up approximately 40% of these cases. Brittany HOBSON, APTN National News, Winnipeg.